Continuing tonight on Newsmax Prime, 4 people have come down with the Zika virus in Florida. And health officials there say they're probably the first cases contracted within the United States. Miranda Khan has more.
JD, more than 1,600 cases of the Zika virus have been detected in the U.S., but this is the first time it's been labeled as homegrown, meaning the virus was not contracted through travel or sexual contact.
Sooner or later, it's almost inevitable that we're going to see local transmission of Zika.
We heard the warnings.
Zap Zika by protecting babies and kids from mosquito bites.
Now, the reality.
This morning we learned that 4 people in our state likely have the Zika virus as a result of a mosquito bite.
Today, Governor Rick Scott broke the news no one wanted to hear.
This means Florida has become the first state in our nation to have local transmission of the Zika virus.
According to the governor, the Florida Department of Health believes the virus could be occurring in one small area. That's about 1 square mile in Miami-Dade County, just north of downtown. He says researchers have been testing mosquitoes there for about 2 weeks. And while no mosquito traps have tested positive for the mosquito virus, the Department of Health is aggressively testing people in the affected area to ensure that there are no other cases of this virus. There's just one issue.
The problem with Zika is 80% of the people do not have or show any symptoms.
And that's exactly how it is for the 4 people who tested positive for the virus in Florida. The question now is, will there be more?
I'm almost certain that we're going to see more.
Officials tested 2,300 people in the state so far and are ramping up mosquito control programs. The FDA is also halting blood donations in South Florida until the blood banks can test each unit or until they have the technology that can kill pathogens in the blood. I also want to mention that the Obama administration has requested nearly $2 billion to pay for research, mosquito control, and other prevention methods. JD, back to you.
Thanks, Miranda. A reminder, we'll be taking your phone calls during this portion of the program at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. For more on this public health threat, we're pleased to be joined via Skype by the Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Officer of the March of Dimes Foundation, Dr. Edward R.B. McCabe. Dr. McCabe is Skyping in tonight from Westchester County, New York. And Dr. McCabe, we really appreciate your time here on Newsmax Prime. And it's interesting, the reaction worldwide. For example, the Director General of the World Health Organization, Margaret Chan, addressed the growing concern surrounding Zika before the Olympic Games down in Rio. Let's look and listen to what she had to say.
We feel that the risk of Zika infection is low for an individual, and it is manageable as long as individuals take, appropriate personal protective measures.
So there's the WHO director saying that it's manageable. Do you agree with that assessment vis-a-vis the Olympics?
Well, I think the Olympics are an interesting model. We know that Zika is in the area. It is the winter in Brazil. We've taken the position, as well as the CDC, that we don't feel that we should tell Olympic athletes, men or women, that they should or should not go. We really feel that people should be informed and then make their own decisions. And I think that's going to be an important message for the folks in Miami-Dade County as well.
Dr. McCabe, we're going to go to the phones nationwide at 1-877-NEWSMAX. Our first call comes from one of America's great cities, San Francisco. And Tom is on the line. Hi, Tom.
Hi. I'm just thinking myself, how in the world can we have all these folks going down there, tens of thousands of people, who have absolutely no protection whatsoever?
Well, you make a good point about Rio, and it's not only Zika and the public health concern there. You also have the infrastructure. It's not been completed. There are concerns about terrorism. It's a scary prospect, and there are some who say the Olympics should be postponed or perhaps even moved. Let me move the focus back to this country, Dr. McCabe, and review what Florida Governor Scott had to say. He says the 4 people who have contracted the virus in South Florida have not exhibited symptoms that would require them to be admitted to the hospital. Is that normal?
Yes, Zika is a relatively mild disease, and we have to remember that 80% of the people with a Zika viral infection show no signs or symptoms. They're completely normal. So it's not unusual that these folks who had symptoms had relatively mild symptoms. The problem with Zika is the birth defects that it's associated with, very small head referred to as microcephaly, because really the brain is infected, mom's blood is infected, it gets across the placenta, and the baby's brain is infected, and essentially the tissue disappears, and the bones of the skull collapse in on themselves.
And
so
we are
that's
looking
very severe, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
And it is important. We're looking at the map that now shows the spread of Zika through South and Central America, and now apparently in Miami. But the point you make, Dr. McCabe, is one that quite logically brings the March of Dimes into this, because I think of the March of Dimes and what was able to happen in conquering polio, and then the March of Dimes turns its attention to birth defects, and obviously this is the major concern for couples of childbearing age. I know there are a lot of nervous parents tonight in Miami-Dade County. What would you say directly to them?
Well, first of all, if they are already parents and they're not planning to be pregnant or are not pregnant at this time, we have no evidence that it causes any significant illness in young children. So I'd like to, they can relax. We have not seen that. But if they are pregnant or planning to get pregnant, they need to go to our website, marchofdimes.org/Zika. If they want it in Spanish, it's nacersano.org/Zika, or go to our social media, hashtag ZAP, Z-A-P, Zika. But there they can get the guidelines for what they need to do. Use EPA registered mosquito repellent, wear long sleeves, long pants. I know it's uncomfortable, but it keeps the mosquitoes away. Socks on your feet. Make sure that your screens are intact in your home, and if you have air conditioning, then use it. And get rid of any standing water. Just a few drops of water in a bottle cap is enough for this mosquito to reproduce. So we really have to learn how to protect ourselves and protect ourselves.
Well, let's go to the phones now at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629, to America's heartland, to Ravenswood, Missouri, where Joni is on the line. Hi, Joni.
Hi.
And the point you wanted to make, go ahead, ma'am.
Well, my point is they've been trying to get a bill passed in the House of Representatives.
Right. Do I still have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what it is I'm really sick and tired of the Democrats not getting along with the Republicans just because there's some little amendment stuck on there or something. They need to go back in there when everybody gets back in there, and they need to pass the Republicans' bill to get this done. That's enough money for them to get something done about this Zika. That's how I feel.
And we appreciate that sentiment, Joni. And let me just make the point. I would concur the bill needs to be a single shot dealing with Zika and mosquito management. And the other thing that's important, the federal government spends so much money, they could easily offset the $2 billion expenditure by going in and stopping spending in other areas, and that should be the rational course of action with that. Dr. McCabe, you mentioned the March of Dimes website. We've got it available now, a screenshot we're going to put up. And again, that address for people concerned about Zika, would you give it to us one more time, Dr. McCabe?
It's marchofdimes.org/Zika.
And we see the page right there, the topic concerning the Zika virus and pregnancy. And there is obviously a concern about birth defects involving those mothers who may contract the Zika virus. Dr. Edward R.B. McCabe tonight from Westchester County, New York. Dr. McCabe, as we continue to monitor this, we appreciate your sound advice tonight, and we hope Well, we hope you don't have to come back and see us about this, but if it warrants, we know you're a knowledgeable person who can very much offer some insights on Zika as we continue to follow it. Thanks very much for your time tonight, sir.
Thank you very much, JD.
Good to have you. Dr. Edward R.B. McCabe, the Chief Medical Officer of the March of Dimes Foundation. And again, this is important. We're going to show you the website once more. You heard Dr. McCabe, marchofdimes.org/Zika. So something to keep in mind as we are dealing with this virus. As with so many different questions, you take reasonable precautions, but you also pray about things. And speaking of prayer in politics, Donald Trump's favorite pastor is coming next.